What is up, people? It is me, Monster58. Welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the SH Monsterarts Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Magician. Dark Magician being essentially the poster child of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, being Yugi Moto's, the lead character's signature monster and the signature archetype for that monster. Now, little tangent, unfortunately, Dark Magician as an entire archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! Hasn't really gotten the amazing support as a standalone archetype that maybe you would have expected it to over the years, especially in comparison to like Blue Eyes White Dragon. Blue Eyes White Dragon even won the World Championships at some point, I believe, like in 2019, I believe was when it won it. But Dark Magician has had no such success, and I don't even think that for the most part, even like the lower, tier decks would even like involve Dark Magician at some point, because I mean the only recent memory I have of Dark Magician being pretty good was because of one of the fusion monsters, I believe, that involved it, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I believe it was, which was one of like the most staple, one of the strongest fusion monsters of its time, and I think that's ever really been released. Now I don't know that. If you guys know Yu-Gi-Oh, like playing the game a bit more than I do, I'd love to hear about that in the comments below. But yeah, this was my childhood too. I watched a lot of the show, collected a lot of the cards, and just to show you, here's an original art card of Dark Magician. Now, I don't know if this has changed over the years, but this is what the original art for the most part looked like. And yes, it's really cool that you can actually recreate the pose. And I'll do my best to recreate it later, and I'll show you guys. But yeah, really, really cool that you can recreate this pose with the figure. But taking a look at the box here, you can see the nice SH Monsterarts Dark Magician, and the nice Bandai Tamashii Nations logos. I believe that's a Yu-Gi-Oh logo down there, or at least something having to do with Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, the Bandai Namco up here in the upper right. Got the more nice Japanese text here, nice product shot here of Dark Magician himself. Then you have more nice artwork here, or product shots of Dark Magician, more nice product shots that we just saw, and then your obligatory product shots. Looks really, really good. I always like with the Monsterarts boxes the cracks in the actual the cracks in the actual packaging. I think that's always been really cool. But yeah, I think that's really it for the box, guys. And so, without further ado, alrighty, folks, and here we have the SH Monsterarts Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Magician out of the box, and I gotta say, this guy looks pretty damn spot on. I mean, when we're looking at visuals, this guy's spot on. Now, I know that they've sort of changed Dark Magician's armor on his shoulders, as you saw from the card. See that when you look at the card, the armor's rounded here. It's a little more rounded, at least. It's not as pointy as it is on the actual figure. But I believe in the animation model, and when you also look at the card in the show and stuff like that, that the armor on his shoulders is more accurate how it was, but regardless, he looks really, really good. He has this awesome sort of purple metallic paint across his entire body, except for like the more clothy parts, and it looks really, really awesome. It shines, it looks very premium, maybe not necessarily feeling premium, but definitely looks premium. And so from a visual perspective, excuse me, I think this guy is absolutely spot on. So taking a look here, and see his face looks really, really good. The only thing is with the other faces, and you'll see this, is that I feel that they're a little too emotionalist. Now, emotionless. And you'll see what I mean, particularly with his sort of open mouth yelling face, and you'll see there. But look at the paint; it looks really, really good. I mean, you can see that shine from my bedroom light. Like that looks really, really good. You can see that all that shine looks really, really nice. Nice details too. Very simple, but this is how it was, and he just looks really good. Nice detail here on the armor. You can see the nice lighter purple paint for the outline, even for the hat as well, and then you can see the darker purple paint as well. This just looks really, really good. Now his body right here, as well as his robe, are all made out of this same, rubbery, plasticky, more bendable, malleable plastic that most, cape parts are made out of. And that is cool, and it looks really nice, but also, unfortunately, it kind of screws up, trying to pose him sometimes, because, they're just about as long as his legs. You can see how long they are. But yeah, overall, he looks great. And when we look at the back, that looks awesome too. This is very accurate, and I do like how just sort of thin he is. It just, even though he is really thin, that's how his character was, and that's how he looked in the show, and even on the card. He's a very thin character. Now, one issue that you can sort of see, I don't know if you can already tell, one issue I have with this figure is he doesn't really like standing up very well. I don't think he was really designed to stand on his own 2 feet. He was more or less designed to be used with the stand that he comes with, which is totally understandable, but at the same time, when you look at, like, the first, like, season of the show, Dark Magician stood on his feet at plenty of times throughout the show, pretty much most times. And the only times he didn't was maybe when he was, when Yugi used, like, magical hats or something like that, or he had to float to use dark magic attack. But even in the times he used dark magic attack, he would just use his hand, and he wouldn't even like move. He wouldn't even shoot anything out of his actual scepter that he has, and so him not being able to stand is going to be something I'm going to knock off for it, because, like, this guy should still be able to stand on his own. I mean, we saw it with Elemental Hero Flame Wingman. Even with the asymmetrical body that Flame Wingman had, with his one arm being massively bigger than the other, he was still able to stand relatively well. But this guy doesn't really stand all that well, and it's hard to get him into, like, dynamic poses despite his articulation actually being really, really solid. So overall, when it comes to the visuals, it looks really, really good. It's just getting him to stand on his own. You can very much tell that this was designed for the stand. And like I said, well, I didn't say this, but my point is, like, he's a wizard. I mean, he just fell over. He's a wizard, so you'd expect him to be able to sort of fly, on his own, with magic and stuff like that. And so it also makes sense that he was used for the stand, but you'd think, given, Flame Wingman, that he'd be able to stand. But you can already see this guy is, yeah, I mean, you can see, like, you have to kind of, like, spread his legs out, like, relatively wide for him to be able to stand. And even then, the ankle joints I have are just not doing it. Give me a second here. And there, we finally got him to frickin' stand. And so what we're going to do while he's still standing is we're going to do a size comparison. So here he is. And here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe class of Infernac Universe Magnus. As you can see, he is a little bit taller than an average Deluxe. He'd be closer to like a Voyager Transformers figure size. So if you have that sort of size class, or just a bigger, taller Deluxe, like, he'd be probably about the same height as, like, Hoist or Trailbreaker or something like that in that size range, even Ironhide and Ratchet. So if you have a figure of that size class, then you'll see how big he is. He's a pretty modest size. He's about the same height as Flame Wingman. Flame Wingman really wasn't that much even bigger, despite him having, like, a giant dragon arm. In terms of height, they're relatively similar. And so I would show you Flame Wingman and, like, Red Eyes Black Dragon and Blue Eyes White Dragon, but unfortunately, they're very still, like, fragile, and I'm very afraid to move them for the time being. And so we're just going to leave them off. I'm going to see if I can maybe find some pictures of comparing them to one another, but other than that, here's a general idea of how big you can expect Dark Magician to be. Alrighty, folks, and with that all out of the way, let's get into the articulation, which is really good. This guy is actually extremely well articulated. It's just unfortunate that, well, he doesn't have an easy time standing. But you can get some really nice poses if you're using the stand. And so, getting into it, the head is on a ball joint, so you can get the up and down. You can go side to side as well. You can't really do a full 360, but you can look left to right about that much because the whole neck piece blocks it. Then the armor pieces on the shoulders are pretty interesting. You do have something like this, which you can move them out of the way. You can get a full 360 and stuff like that, but even with it on, you can still get some really solid motion. You have a butterfly joint, but it's kind of limited, just because, like, the armor is so, like, present here. It doesn't really look like you're moving it, but you can get some really nice movement out of it regardless. You have waist here, so you can do this. You can also twist side to side a bit, but you have not ankle rock. You can rock side to side, bend forward about that far, bend back about that far, so nice articulation there. Then you can kick forward about that far, you can kick back about that far, you have more than 90 at the knee, and then you have ankle articulation as well. And then the wrists are also on ball joints. I forgot to do the actual arms. You can bend more than 90, like, look at that bend, and then you have a rotation here as well, and even a rotation at the upper part of the bicep as well. So overall, when it comes to this guy's articulation, he's incredibly well articulated. It's a shame that you can't really use it for when he's grounded, and you more or less have to use it with the stand exclusively. Like I said, you can get it in the stand, as you've seen, but he is very much a figure that if you were to just slightly bump into the desk or the shelf or whatever you have him displayed, he's going to fall over if he has no support. Alrighty, folks, now getting into the accessories. This guy comes with a plethora of them. So he comes with a ton of different pairs of hands, comes with 2 different faces, a new hairpiece as well as his iconic scepter. Now, you guys have probably been yelling at me to actually attach this, but something unfortunate happened with my scepter, so we'll talk about that first and foremost. So the scepter is actually really well done. You can see the very nice like metallic paint, very similar to how the purple paint is on his actual body. The very nice painted like dark green gem and the nice lighter color outlines here and everywhere along the scepter. It looks really, really good. The only issue I have with this thing is the way that you're supposed to actually peg this onto this guy's hand. Now the initial instructions are for you to remove it at this base piece where this white little divider is, and then you remove it like so, and the top part will come off, and you just slide the hand on there. Now for me, what ended up happening was I was messing around with it like my klutzy usual klutzy self, and what ended up happening was I was trying to remove it, and I think I slipped a bit, and I pushed this way while also pushing this way. I wasn't even pushing very hard, but the peg in there is so thin, it just snapped, and so I had to super glue this on. You can even see the residual glue there. I don't know how well that comes across, but you can see the residual super glue there. But yeah, which is why his other hand, one of his pairs of hands, is just stuck on here, because I don't want to remove it at risk of bending this again and then snapping it off again and having to re-glue it again. So we're going to leave it as is. But yes, you can see the initial idea is for you to remove this, then take this hand, which he has two pairs of, so you can have him hold it in either hand. So you can see here's the other hand. And then just slide it on here. So the scepter, like I said, looks really good, and I'll show you. Very easy to remove his hand. So you remove his fist there, and then you can just take this and then just peg it into place. And now we have Dark Magician with his iconic scepter, which is really awesome. Again, it looks good. I'm very happy with it. I personally have no major complaints with it. The only thing, like I told you, is how thin it actually is. And please, I beg of you, for those of you who are watching this and you want to get this figure, please be aware of that and make sure that you don't make the same mistake I did and ruin like part of the accessory. So he does come with another pair of open hands. So these are like sort of like spell casting hands. You can use this as well for like if you look at the show, he goes was a Dark Magician, Dark Magic Attack, and this is sort of the hand that he uses, so you can use that. He also has some more different hands, too. You can see that he has hands like this, so sort of more spellcasting hands. They're very, very nicely done. And then you also have these hands, and these are for the card pose, so I'll show you the pose again here in a second, but these are meant to essentially just go at the top of his head. So let me... see, you can see how they're slightly different, like they're molded around, his head. It's supposed to be the hand up here. So you can see the card. It's supposed to be this right here. And that looks really cool. Obviously, you can recreate it. You saw in the box art that you could. And here are the faces. So he comes with two faces and new hair. So for the faces, he comes with a smirking one, which actually looks pretty good. But he comes with a yelling one as well. And unfortunately, I just wish there was a little more emotion in this one. Sorry about that, folks, but you think that with this, his eyebrows would be a little bit more down and look more angry than this. So it's a bit unfortunate. I just think it looks a little less emotional than it probably should be, but it still looks pretty solid. I mean, the paint and the details are all there. It's just I wish there was a little more... get that to focus, a little more emotion than it actually has. And then he comes with another set of hair, and you can see this is much longer hair. And this is, I think, sort of to replicate when he actually uses Dark Magic Attack, and then there is a level of, like, pushback from the wind of the power that's actually used in the Dark Magic Attack. And also, because there was, like, they did this weird thing in the show where there's this guy that he dueled called Arcana, that Yugi dueled called Arcana, and Arcana had a Dark Magician too, but they were, like, different. And his Dark Magician was, like, an evil Dark Magician. And his hair was a little more apparent and messy and stuff like that. But to change the face, what you have to do is you have to actually take his hat and you remove it. And then there's a peg up there. And then what you do is you just remove the actual hair. And then you remove the face. And so if you want the new face and the hair, like that, there you go. You can just, I'll do the face. We'll do the smirking face first. And then we will do the hair after that. So there, and then there's just a peg on the back of the hair, so you can see that there's a little peg right there at the top of the hair, and then you can see that there's a hole right there at the top, and then you just do your best to plug that in. Pretty good there, and all you got to do is take this and then just shove it back on, and there, now he has his more messy hair, and it looks really, really good still. Like I told you, this figure visually looks amazing. It's just some of the functionality, well, mainly just him standing really does suck. It's not the best when you try and get him to stand. But overall, despite this sort of emotionless yelling face, everything else is pretty well done. He has some really nice wave of accessories, and I can't really complain too much about it beyond what I've already said. And finally, guys, for the remaining accessory, you do come with the sort of magic ring that he has, as well as a dark magic attack effect part, and another arm for him to be able to stand in the center. So, the way that you're supposed to clip this on is pretty easy. I don't want to remove it right now, but you can see it's like a little slot here. So what you have to do is you initially just get this little chunk right here, and you just slide it in, sort of like, it's like a clip essentially. It's like this, and you slide like this, and then you just slide the piece of, paper essentially into this. It's pretty sturdy though. It's not quite just regular paper. It feels like, like more contact construction paper. Like it feels thick, feels pretty thin. Maybe it's more like a thin plastic, which I have to assume. But the deco on it's really nice. It's very obviously accurate. I do wish the color was a little more accurate when you're looking at this. This is has much more green hue to it. This is much just more black. But overall still looks really good, and all of the symbols are pretty much on point. So overall looks good there. And then here's the dark matte. And then again, him falling over again. What a surprise. If you can frickin' stand, dude. Like, this is, like I told you, the most frustrating part about this guy. It looks really good. You can see here the nice purple with the blue looks great here. That all you have to do is just, there's a peg here, and then there's a peg hole right in there. I know it's hard to see there. I think you can see it right there. And all you have to do is line this up, peg that on, and then you can recreate a dark magic attack, which is really, really cool. So overall, when it comes to the stand, like I told you guys, this guy comes with a nice slew of accessories, and it's a real shame, like I told you in previous reviews, that Godzilla, which is like one of the most prevalent IPs that Bandai owns and makes SH Monsterarts stuff for, can't add a lot of accessories like this unless it's a dumb, like, 70th anniversary edition or some anniversary edition. No, with the original releases, they have to be as like vague and as like little accessories as possible. But with these, man, they can include all the accessories that they could ever want, that you could ever want out of a figure like this. And so it's a bit of a shame, but for Dark Magician here, it's obviously really cool. Now, the one thing I didn't show here is how to use the actual, like, arm on the stand. So all you have to do is they just show you clipping it around here. And so, yeah, very simple. Just clip it here, and I will show you, yes, you can absolutely recreate that pose that he has, and I will do my best to recreate it. But yes, you can see that it holds him up really nicely, and it can support the entire weight of the figure, which is absolutely fantastic. So overall, when it comes to the accessories, again, I have no major complaints because he comes with a lot of stuff. Alrighty guys, so for my final concluding thoughts on the SH Monsterarts Dark Magician from Yu-Gi-Oh!, the poster child of Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself, this guy is pretty solid but not perfect. So, getting the bad out of the way, the main thing that I have with this guy is the peg in the scepter being super thin. I'm also not a fan of how he can't really stand all that well. And that the articulation doesn't get used, and because of that, the articulation doesn't get used all that well while he's just standing. He was clearly made for the stand, but other than that, getting into it, I think for the good stuff, he looks visually amazing, pretty much damn accurate to how he is in the show and how he is on the card art itself. I also really do like the paint. I think that's really well done. The fact that it's sort of this metallic shiny, not only on the actual figure itself, but on the scepter as well. The scepter is really nice. It's accurate. Looks really good. Feels pretty good. The stand, the effect part, all the extra pairs of hands, the couple of faces, as well as the extra piece of hair. This guy comes with a lot. Now, this is about $100 after shipping, and would I think it's worth 100? I think more or less is close to 70 or 80, but he does come with a lot of stuff, so at the end of the day, would I still recommend this? Yeah, I absolutely would, and so out of a 10, I'm probably going to give this guy an 8. Not perfect, but not like jaw-droppingly amazing, but just solid. This is what you would expect out of a Dark Magician release. He looks how he should look. No real major complaints there. Just understand that when you get into this figure, you're more or less going to have to display him using the stand, just due to the fact that he can't really stand well on his own. And I didn't mention this, but yeah, the second face not having as much emotion, the yelling face, I wish it had a little more emotion, and I didn't mention that in the bad things. But yeah, I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so leave a link in the description to that. Also leave a link in the description to Amazon, so you guys can go ahead and pick this guy up if you so do wish to do so. And so, I think that's it. And so I thank you guys so much for taking taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends, and also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.